Hello viewers and welcome to Speechless. I'm your host, Mariah Terry, and today we'll be debating the issues that matter. We'll cover a wide range of topics from politicians to pop culture. Tonight we'll be discussing people using small drones in cities, concealed weapons on college campuses, and the legality of reverse porn. Revenge porn. Let's get ready for a fierce fight. Ready, set, speechless. Today we have the Anson Alligators and the Walker Wallabies. Walker Wallabies, you are currently in the lead this season with 100 points. How do you feel about tonight's debate?
We're feeling super confident. We're ready to keep this rolling.
Ready to keep on rolling.
Good, I'm glad. Now we're going to go on to our Anson Alligators. This is your first debate of the season. How did you prepare for tonight's debate?
Well, you know, we've been watching the Wallabies and we like what they're doing, but we think personally that we can do what they're doing much better. And we've done extensive research.
Wow, those are fighting words.
Okay.
I'm intrigued to see where tonight is going to go. Now on to our first debate. Officials have raised new concerns about drones use in cities. San Francisco's Peace and Justice Commission proposed to place a 2-year ban on small motorized drones on Tuesday. Although regulations are already in the works, the commission worries that they will not be able to keep up with drone technology. The Berkeley City Council is considering whether or not drone use by the state is a threat to the privacy rights of citizens. Despite these potential threats, many locals believe that the drone use expedites emergency rescue missions and should not be banned. In the past few years, drones are becoming increasingly popular tools for both commercial and private interests. Amazon recently announced its decision to deliver packages by drones, which has led the FAA to consider possible restrictions on commercial drone use. However, many people use helicopter drones to film local sporting events or simply for recreational use. In response to its growing popularity, the New York Police Department advocated last November for more restrictions on private drone use. NYPD's Deputy Chief Salvatore Ray DePace believes that drones could be modified with firearms, bombs, or chemical weapons that can be used for acts of terrorism. Despite the potential threats, many say that these drones are not large enough to pose any threat to the public. In addition, they argue that the restrictions on private drone use violates property rights. This begs the question, do restrictions on civilian drones deter terrorism, or are these regulations reactionary? Anson Alligators, what do you think?
Well, as you said, as of right now, the FAA hasn't really locked down the laws yet. Everything's still pretty much up in the air, no pun intended. But on a serious note, we really believe that the NYPD has some very serious concerns here. In a world where terrorism is unfortunately a reality, regulations need to be encouraged so that people don't have access to the weaponry that they could put on these things and potentially drop them in the middle of cities, high population areas, and do some real damage. And we're very much against that.
But to counter that point, we do want to bring up that, like Mariah said, the small drones that civilians would use are actually a lot less likely to be dangerous to the general public. Drones are often used for convenience purposes and actually can be used for good. It can be used for filmmakers, for example. Filmmakers don't have to pay super expensive fees to helicopters, airplanes to get really great aerial shots. We want to bring up the example of a startup company called Matternet that actually uses drones to bring critical medical supplies to the developing world. You know, drones can obviously be used for good, and we think that to regulate against that drone use could actually be a potential downfall.
Okay, first of all, you're replacing the word regulate with completely ban. Film sets are already regulated. You can't film wherever you want. You have to use very specific kinds of cameras. You have unions on you all the time. And also the point with the smallness of the drones, we have literally seen terrorists stuff bombs in underwear. So I don't think it would be that difficult to put an explosive into a drone and just ram it into anything, or drop a bomb just anywhere. You have to recognize the fact that no matter what technology you're talking about, the government has a responsibility to make sure that it serves the public's interest while still serving the private sector well.
Now, are there anything that says that terrorists are going to use this? Like, is there any evidence thus far that proves that there are terrorists who are planning on using drones?
No.
Is there any reason that they wouldn't?
First of all, they don't have the means for the technology. We were talking about terrorism, and obviously that's a big concern and stuff like that. But first of all, drones are still a high-tech kind of thing. You think people make it sound like you can put this together in your garage, you can assemble bombs in your garage, make it really easy, and bing, bang, boom, and New York's on the rise of being blown apart. That is not the case. It is not. It is not feasible for cash-strapped terrorists that live several hundred thousand miles away for them to all of a sudden think drones are the main way for them to commit all of their acts.
Overseas,
Yeah,
especially in this city.
True.
Well, who has? It still
actually,
costs like 6 figures to build like drones and stuff like that, and that money is not.
Some of these people might be rich.
I wanted
Osama bin Laden was wealthy.
We're going to know who they are if they are rich, and also they are also on our list of people that we need to be concerned about for terrorism acts.
Look, I want to take this conversation in a different way. I want to see how you respond to a point that I want to bring up. When you put restrictions and penalties on drone usage, that's implying that you're going to have people to enforce those penalties. So when you have people flying these small drones that would be regulated, you're implying that you're going to have these government agencies have bigger drones that have the ability to shoot them down. And that, I feel like that just completely
Yes, because we
defies
shoot
the
anybody
point.
who goes on the wrong side of the highway.
Well, not necessarily. We have.
She's suggesting that the minute that a drone breaks a law that we would shoot it down. No, there's other solutions.
We do have an air defense system that is basically underground in most cities and areas, which will spring up if there's a terrorist threat. But in regards to the concerns, I mean, the airspace around cities in any town are very, very worrisome, because even with ultralight aircrafts, they're allowed to fly below 500 feet. And we're talking about crashing, just inspiring fear in people who are walking by and see these drones flying. Do we really want that?
I think
Okay,
maybe
that's
you think
actually
that
all the time we have for this debate. Thank you very much. Don't go away. The droning sounds of these messages will make you speechless. Welcome back to Speechless. I'm about to award the points for the last debate that was prior to commercial break. And we were talking about drone use over cities and regulation of it. Now, the Walker Wallabies had some great points about how it's great for filmmakers who want to get aerial shots. It's great for these companies who use it to give medical supplies. And you said it's just not feasible for an average person to be building these, so for an average terrorist to be building these. On the other side, we had the ants and alligators who were talking about how regulation is doesn't mean that you're prohibiting it, and that terrorists come in every shape and size and form. So we need to think about that prior to regulating and to allowing these things to fly everywhere. So now I did award points. I award 20 points to the Walker Wallabies and 15 to the ants and alligators. So ultimately, the Walker Wallabies did win this debate with 20 points. Now on to the next debate. Recent data has shown an increase in weapon licenses. According to the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, more women are carrying concealed weapons on campus. The number of gun license holders in Florida have risen from 15 to 23% over the past 10 years. Gun rights activists argue that arming women on college campuses will prevent sexual assault. Campus carry laws are being considered to protect students on college campuses. Meanwhile, many people believe that concealed weapons are unnecessary to prevent assaults if students are prepared by self-defense classes. Many colleges, like Emerson, forbid the possession of concealed weapons on college campuses and encourage students to practice self-defense. Instead, however, a recent trend at some universities allows students to carry small self-defense weapons as a deterrent of assault. Some of these weapons, like pepper spray and defense keychains, like safety cats, are currently illegal in many states. Nevertheless, some argue that it is necessary for students to carry these weapons, rather than just learning self-defense techniques. While this may make some students feel safer when walking around campus, opponents say that it will alienate students who are uncomfortable with using weapons or being around others who carry them. So, should students be able to carry concealed weapons on college campuses? Walker Wallabies, let's start with you.
So we think no. We don't think that any student should be able to carry a concealed weapon on campus. This is primarily because we think that it's going to alienate the non-carriers. It's going to make people believe that there's more crime out there and to be sort of paranoid about what's behind the corner. I do want to bring up a July 2013 study that was published in the Journal of American College Health. It found that 79% of college students, faculty, and visitors would feel, quote, unsafe if concealed weapons were allowed to be carried on campus. And I think a college is a college is really responsible to make their students feel safe. And I think when that is questioned, that's just simply not okay.
Anson Alligators, any response to that?
Well, we feel first of all that since we're talking about concealed weapons, there's no way of knowing who's carrying a weapon, who's not. It would be as if no one's carrying them at all. And besides, we think that it's more important to protect women from sexual assault. A study at from Northwestern University School of Law showed that 200,000 women a year use firearms to defend against sexual abuse, and that's just firearms, never mind the sharp keychains or what have you. And 3 out of 5 felons say that they won't mess with an armed victim. We have to take into account that making sure that people are safe is much more important than preventing a mild discomfort.
As a college-aged woman, I feel compelled to speak on this issue.
Do, yes.
I'm totally going to give it to you that the threat of sexual assault is a real fear for a lot of people, including myself. But I think it perpetuates this whole standard that your suggestion of all women carrying concealed weapons perpetuates a standard of it's my responsibility to defend myself against everybody who's trying to come and abuse me sexually.
Having that thought isn't going to stop some felon from trying to sexually assault you, with all due respect.
These people are despicable. They do not care about law or policy. And these people who would do any kind of harm to any people, they will carry weapons. They will carry knives, guns, what have you. And the thing that I would like to argue is that this isn't encouraging every single student to have or carry a firearm. It is allowing those who feel comfortable with doing that and feel more safe with their weapon to carry.
I would like to state that furthermore, that almost all of these dangerous shootings, Aurora, what have you, they always happen in places where weapons are not allowed. Just the idea of weapons being allowed, even if absolutely no one actually had weapons, it would be more safe from these maniacs. Because let's face it, these guys don't want a challenge. They want a place where they can safely shoot people up for one last ride. That's what these dangerous maniacs want 90% of the time.
But here's the thing: when you give just a general student the ability to carry a concealed weapon, that gives everybody else who doesn't carry concealed weapons the idea that nobody really knows who could potentially be dangerous.
Right.
There are several states.
That's absurd.
Listen to me. There are several states, particularly Georgia and Maryland, who don't even require any gun training to obtain a gun to contain a.
Do you think rules are going to stop anyone who has
permit.
a gun who wants to shoot up a school?
Well, let me give you an example. I have a very good friend who's a student here at Emerson who is an Army reservist, and he actually is a medic, and he is trained with firearms, and I would feel very comfortable if he would carry whenever he feels comfortable with that, because I feel comfortable in the presence of someone. In the case of a very dangerous situation, I feel like he would be capable.
I think that's great if you feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable because you're his friend, then that's great. But I'm just saying that the non-carrying public would feel especially paranoid to know that anybody could be carrying a gun at any time.
As an Air Force veteran who's also licensed to carry guns as well, I agree with her. on the idea that it perpetuates. It's a false sense of security. I don't like the idea of violence, solving violence. I think more should be taken in steps of increased campus police presence, which is already relatively good. We're talking about isolated incidents. I know it's all over the media all the time, and it sure seems like every day someone's getting shot up. That's
Sexual
still
assault
not
is
the
an
case.
isolated incident.
No, I'm not talking about
Excuse me?
sexual assault. I'm talking about the use of, you're talking about shootings and stuff like that, Aurora and stuff like that. So back to sexual assaults, more that should be done about sexual assaults. Awareness, education, no means no. Increased campus presence.
We're doing that.
We should be doing more of that instead of saying, okay, you don't feel safe, bring a gun with you then. Then you'll definitely feel safe.
It doesn't have
That's
to be a
false
gun, it
sense
could
of
be a
security.
knife.
Any kind of weapon like that, that is not the right message to send to young women to say on campus, in order for you to feel safe, forget about all those classes, forget about that education. As long as you bring a weapon, you'll be good to go.
Exactly.
So this is all we have time for. You guys made some great points here. For example, this side right here said that it will alienate non-carriers and that 79% of people feel unsafe. And you guys were saying that it doesn't matter if you want to, if you want to be dangerous, you are going to do it regardless of whether it is legal to carry around guns or not. So you might as well arm the victims here and arm the underdog. Awarding points, I have 30 points right here on your side, and we have 25 over here. So again, the Wallabies won this round. Now that is all we have for this debate. Stay tuned during the commercial break because we'll be right back with more topics. Hunter Moore, the creator of revenge porn sites, was arrested last Thursday. Moore was detained for displaying shared and stolen images of naked women on revenge porn websites like isanyoneUp.com. Moore is facing a 2 to 7 year sentence for hacking and posting explicit photos without permission. However, opponents to Moore's arrest say that he is protected under the First Amendment as it allows him to share freely obtained material. The American Civil Liberties Union of California also objected to anti-revenge porn laws, saying that even offensive images are constitutionally protected. Regardless, revenge porn is criminalized in over 20 states. A photo of passed-out New England Patriots player Julian Edelman was viral on Snapchat and Tinder 2 weeks ago. The photo was taken by Edelman's Tinder match, Sabrina Dudish, after sexual intercourse. When Edelman was asleep, Dudish has since been criticized for posting the picture, which was captioned, "Just effed Edelman, no lie." Although the photo was posted not for revenge, but to brag, people are calling it revenge porn since she did not have permission from Edelman. So debaters, are intimate bragging photos released to the public a form of free speech, or do they violate privacy rights? Let's hear what the ants and alligators think.
Well, just like the Second Amendment, the First Amendment is equally as important. We believe in people who ought to have the freedom of speech to post what they want to have. That being said, we are heading into a world that is increasingly more technological, and we believe that people should be responsible for what they take pictures of, what they post online, and just to understand what could happen if someone gets a hold of those photos or anything you write or say.
Okay, now Wallabies, do you have anything to say to that?
So we're of the opinion that sharing these photos is actually a breach of personal privacy rights. And we think, this kind of behavior has been criminalized in 20 states. Obviously, the picture taking was non-consensual. If we're talking about the case of Julian Edelman, he's seen sleeping in the background. Obviously, he did not give her permission to post that picture. And we just think it's
basic human decency.
It's human decency, that's right.
It's common sense.
Here's the thing. You have the right to be a jerk. There's nothing I can say that I appreciate about what she did, but the fact is it's perfectly legal. He chose to go into
20 states.
He chose to go into the room with her. He chose to have that intercourse, and he knew that she would be beside him while he was sleeping. She took the photo. The photo is her intellectual property. No, that's true. Photography is intellectual property of the person who took the photo. You could, if you send the photo to someone else, this is another point. If you send the photo to someone else, it's their property now because you are giving it to them. So once again, none of this is right, morally speaking, but it is legal.
That's a kind of iffy case because that involves a public figure like Julian Edelman.
Yes.
That's kind of a special case. We're talking about private citizens like me and you. And there's a situation that come up like, say, a partner of ours took a picture of ours, put it up in it's common journalism 101, that, you know, private citizens have extended rights to protect their identity, protect their, their space. And when something like that happens without their consent especially, and again, that's why it's criminalized in 20 states, should be more, probably will be more because it's becoming a bigger issue down the road because it's happening more and more with people who don't have sense of decency, releasing photos, revenge porn, doing whatever the heck they want, despite their friends, lovers, who name it. And this is why it needs to be protected. It's all wrong on many fronts, and it's also legal in several states. Should be more, and it's common sense. I can't say anything further.
First of all, you can't mix up journalistic ethics with law. So it may not be ethical for a journalist to send a picture or.
It extends to all people. No. It extends to
right.
all people. I'm not talking about just journalism people.
You were talking about journalism.
It's a law. I will clarify
in regard to the law in 20 states, that doesn't make it constitutional. The Supreme Court could strike it down at any time.
I doubt they would, though. And in 20, we're already at 20 states.
There's been conversations about it.
And
People
regardless, now that's not a debate here. We do know that it is not legal in 20 states.
Right.
What I want to know from you two over here
We're talking about
is if you
constitutionality.
feel like it is, okay, do you feel like it's against the Constitution for somebody to be posting a picture of somebody else in the nude or very vulnerable like that?
Well, here's the thing. The Constitution, when it was first written, was written at a time when there was no social media, no pictures, no photography. It was written at a time when the only way you could slander or when you could libel someone is through the papers and through the press. So those laws that have to do with, the Fourth Amendment, talking about right to privacy and, to be secure in your person, that really pertains to your reputation as a person, and also with law and the courts and what they can use in a court legally. In this new world, like the UAV and the drone issue, these laws aren't there. The internet is just taking off, and social media is just coming out, and these laws aren't locked down yet.
But shouldn't there be something criminal about somebody going out with actual intent to do harm to somebody else's reputation?
That is illegal, but that's different.
You just listed
That's
the
why.
Fourth Amendment.
In what way is that different?
If you send a photo, what we're talking about is bragging. If you send a photo out with solely the intent to brag, that is not slander because it is not your intent to harm someone. And furthermore, what we have to note is, once again, you have the right to be a bad person. If I talk about someone I slept with who was vulnerable at the time, then I am doing essentially the same thing through free speech. It's more important to protect free speech. It's bad. Okay. We should not encourage this behavior.
Now, this is all the time we have for this debate. This was a heated one. Now, okay, I am going to award your points right over here. And I can tell you right now that the Walker Wallabies did win, but not by much. I will tell you after the break by exactly how much they took over. And so I will tell you the winner of tonight's debate. So don't swipe left on Speechless. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We've had some great debates, but now it's time to announce the winner of tonight's show. With that last debate there, the Wallabies walked away with 30 points, while the Alligators walked away with 20. So that leaves tonight's total for the Wallabies. Remember, they had 100 points from last week, at 180 points total tonight throughout the season. And the Alligators, because this is their first show tonight, are at a total of 60 points. Now, for my own humble opinion, I do not see anything wrong with people having and using drones. For many people, they are just a cool new toy to play with, and there have yet to be any terrorist attacks by these small drones, which leads me to believe that they are harmless. Until there is evidence that there could be an attack, there is no reason to create a law just yet. And although I understand that carrying a concealed weapon could protect a woman from rape, I believe that carrying a concealed weapon could cause more harm than good. A gun is a deadly weapon, and there are so many other ways women can learn to protect themselves. Students should be able to act in self-defense in a way that is not going to lead to accidental harm to others or themselves. And explicit photos taken of people without their permission, regardless of its intention, is a violation of personal rights. If someone shares an intimate picture with a significant other, that person trusts that no other personnel is going to see that photo. In addition, posting the photo online or sharing it on social media with anyone else is a violation of the other person's personal rights. Now, it was a great, great show tonight. And I want to thank you all for coming out and debating. I cannot wait to see what we have in store for next week. That's all we have for tonight, folks. Stay relevant, Emerson.